All right, today I wanted to do a review of this individual's channel. This is Michael Hoffman, aka Awakening the Masses, aka FTG, aka Fuck the Government. So me and Michael go way back. I trolled him back in the day. He's been around up until recently, anyway. I guess for 7 or 8 years would be my guess. The first video that I saw of him was when he stream sniped Jeff Gray back before stream sniping was a thing. Back before streaming was a thing, even, I guess. It was a video of Michael on the side of the road in Florida with a sign saying "fuck the government," and I saw that and I was like, I mean, he's really just kind of appealing to the lowest common denominator, the cop haters and the anarchists. And so I took an interest in him and just was kind of hard on the guy. I was making a lot of harsh comments on his channel, and I found out that he had an anger an anger management problem, and he would just explode on me. And of course, that made it even more interesting for me. So I just continued until the point where eventually he ghosted me from his channel. But then he was also like on the photography is not a crime forums. And I mean, this has been 6, 7 years ago. And so, of course, I gave him a lot of shit over there, and there wasn't a whole lot he could do about it. He would just immediately get wound up and, start in with the cop sucker comments and the bootlicker comments and all of that stuff. And at the time, I thought it was really funny. But looking back on it, I think he was a little bipolar, maybe. I think he had some sort of anger management problem, and so I probably shouldn't have messed with him so hard. But the reason I'm doing the review is because this is an example of what not to do as a activist, as a civil rights activist or First Amendment auditor or anything like that. I don't think he was really prepared for what he was getting into. And he was just such an easy target for me because he in every video that I ever saw, almost without fail, he was going to invoke two things in those videos. One was his high IQ. He's got, some sort of ginormous IQ, at least if you ask him. 200 plus IQ or some nonsense. And that was always number one. He's gonna reference his IQ, and the number two thing was he was gonna reference his 14, 15, 16, 20 something years as a fraud investigator, right? So in every interaction with a government official, a cop or whatever, he wanted to let them know that he was smarter than them and that he had more experience and more knowledge of the law than them. And and it was, and I mean, to be honest with you, he's not stupid, but he's not really that bright. Okay, so his IQ is not that high. I don't know where he got his IQ tested at. Probably from one of those internet, IQ tests or something like that. But he's no Mensa affiliate. I'm telling you. And in the 15 years of fraud investigator stuff, okay, man, it's a job like any other. It doesn't mean that you have any special insight into anything. And so, that was part of it. But the other part of it was just um, he really wasn't prepared for what he got into. So the whole story, the backstory here is this guy was uh, he went on airport property in Jacksonville, Florida, and it was run by I want to say the Jacksonville Port Authority. And so they gave him and he was carrying a sign, he's protesting, and the whole story was he was walking down the easement of the road, thinking it was uh, public property, and he was going to go make a public records request at some building or something along those lines. And the cops pulled up. We're going to review this video in a minute that shows all what exactly happened. They gave him every opportunity in the world to leave, and he at this point, he was committed to getting himself arrested over this nonsense and fighting it all the way through. And you got to give him credit. I mean, he did. He took the arrest and he fought it all the way through to the South Carolina Supreme Court, and they refused to take it up. And so he spent years of his life, lots and tens of thousands of dollars of money. Of course, he e-bagged a lot of that money. There was a period of time where after his arrest, where he was on the internet going, I'm gonna take it to, I'm gonna beat this thing, and give me some money, give me money, and anybody who donates, he was gonna, have a big party at the end. I mean, he was counting his chickens before they hatched. We're gonna have a big party and celebrate, and I'm going to give you all back your money once I win the lawsuit and all this kind of stuff. Dude, his ego took over, and he was in it for the clicks and the views and his ego, and couldn't see the forest for the trees. Um, and of course, he ended up losing, and that's what this all culminates into is his. He disappeared for a while. Oh, and there was an interim period after his arrest where he just went ballistic, man. He went off the rails, where he was making threats towards judges and towards law enforcement officers. Guy had never been arrested before in his life before that arrest on the side of the road. And then, the judge uh, mandated that he get some sort of court mandated psychiatric evaluation, which I honestly believe, he had a bipolar disorder or something along those lines myself, just from watching this guy and having, verbal altercations with him on the internet kind of thing. And then he ended up getting, I think, 6 months in jail, and just, did a number on himself, did a number on his family, um, and then ultimately, threw his hands up and gave up. And you can't blame him for that. The system ground him to bits. So the moral of the story is, to all of you auditors out there, you better know what you're getting into when you start down this road, because it's not as easy as you think, and it's not as cut and dry as you think, and the system will eat you alive. So, and that's what happened to good old Mike here. So let's take a look at the original video back in, I want to say, what it was, 2014ish, where he originally got uh, arrested. Let's watch what happened. He's on the Jacksonville Port Authority property.
How you doing, officers? Doing well. Your name, officer?
Officer Cruz.
And your badge number, ma'am?
425.
I appreciate that, ma'am. How you doing, Officer Salinas?
I'm doing okay.
Your badge number once again, sir?
421.
I appreciate that, sir. How can I help you people today?
I was just wondering, have you applied with the Jacksonville Aviation Authority External Affairs to stand out here and protest?
Am I being detained?
You're not being detained at this time, sir.
At this time, I elect not to answer any questions.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to inform you that this is Jacksonville Aviation Authority private property. And right now, at this time, you're trespassing unless you have permission from the Jacksonville Aviation Authority to be here.
So the whole argument here is that the Jacksonville Aviation Authority is like a semi-private uh, semi-private agency, and this is their property. And I would say that Mike's little thing here did more harm than good ultimately, because all he did was create the case law that shows that they are in fact a semi-private agency, and that property is semi-private, and they can in fact trespass people from it now. So, his protest had the exact opposite effect of what he intended for it to have. But let's keep going.
Next from our fire division, and I'm going to give you time to leave. If you do not, then you will be charged with trespassing. So you have time to leave.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you verbalizing that you're going to give me time, and I thank you for that.
Okay.
May I make a statement?
Sure.
Okay. I'm a licensed fraud investigator. I'm sure you already know that because when you...
And here it already comes. He's a licensed fraud investigator with X number of years, and he knows more about it than anybody, right?
You walked up to me, you identified me as Mr. Hoffman,
Correct.
so you obviously know who I am.
Correct.
I've been doing investigations for over 14 years.
Okay.
This is not private property. It is owned by a corporation, but is owned ultimately by the public. It is granted public access. It has been case law deemed by the Supreme Court that by it being granted public access and this being public access way, I have a legal and a constitutional right to stand here. I don't want to challenge your authority. That's not my intent here. Obviously, I feel I have a...
It really, but the thing about it is, it really is his intent here. It really is.
Constitutional right. I feel I've clearly articulated that right, and I'm asking you to address what I've said and the legality of what I said.
You're welcome to address that. However, it's been put out in writing for our lieutenant that that's how we're supposed to handle this situation. That this is Jacksonville Aviation Authority, private property. You're being asked to leave, and if you're not going to leave voluntarily, then you're being told that you're trespassing.
And may I ask why I'm asking to leave? What is it about my conduct that has caused a official law enforcement authority to ask me to remove myself from public property? May I ask what I've done to do?
As I said before, this is Jacksonville Aviation Authority, private property, okay? You have to go through our external affairs and get permission to stand on the side of the road and protest if you want to hold these signs.
Is this not public property where I'm standing right here?
No, it is not.
This is not public property?
No, it is not.
Okay. Then I'd ask you at this time to go ahead and write me a trespassing.
I'm not going to write you a trespass warning. I'm advising you need to leave.
And if I fail to leave, what's going to happen?
If you fail to leave, then you can be arrested for trespassing.
Okay.
On private property.
I understand that. I'm going to verbalize this now. I've never been arrested. I don't want to be arrested. I'm scared of being arrested. But again, I feel I have a constitutional right to be here.
Boy, this was prophetic, too. He had every reason in the world to be scared of being arrested, because this moment is one of those moments that were life-altering for this guy. And, yeah, you poke the bear, man, and it's gonna get mad and poke you back.
And I'm going to peacefully continue to stand here. I ask it, if you choose to arrest me, please verbalize that. I will lay down my camera. I will lay down my signs. I will peacefully put my hands behind me.
But hey, he's not there to challenge her authority. But hey, if she's going to arrest him, then, just let him know ahead of time.
My back, and I ask you not to treat me roughly. That's all I ask.
I mean, look at this female officer. What guy wouldn't want to be treated like a little bit roughly? But
okay.
Okay. As I said before, and I'll say again,
Okay.
that's what we've been instructed to tell you, that you're trespassing on private property. You have the right to leave now. We'll give you time to leave. If you refuse to leave, then you'll be placed under arrest for trespassing on private property.
Okay.
I'm not going to take any action.
So this is for like the third time she's telling.
To the scene right now.
Okay.
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 Just leave it at that.
I appreciate your professionalism, and I thank you. As you can see by my hand shaking here, I'm rather nervous. So.
Mike's already made the decision he's going to jail today.
So.
And the reason that I say that, he might have had some sort of chemical imbalance or something was in one of his videos he was being interviewed, I think, by a news station or something along those lines. And he like broke down into tears talking about, God bless America. I love America so much. I would do anything. And it was just like, oh my God, really? I mean, the tears were flowing. Dude, I would love to. I think he's probably taking that video down, but yeah. And you had to say, man, something's not quite right with this guy.
Just for clarification, if you don't mind me just clarify. Officer Salinas, while she's discussing that, may I ask you some questions? A person that was to walk through here, is that okay? A person just walking through here, is that unlawful?
Certain person can walk through here if they have a place that they need to go, destination they need to go to.
And is it known at this time I do not have a destination? Do you know at this time I do not have a destination?
The sign seems like you have ulterior motives to be standing out here on the side of the road.
Okay.
You're not showing us that you have any place to go, but you stand on the side of the road and show your sign.
So it would be okay if someone was just to walk through here without a sign, that's okay?
Well, they were conducting business at the airport.
Yeah.
Sure, they can walk
But
through.
you don't know if I have business to conduct at the airport.
Do you have business to conduct?
I don't choose to answer questions at this time. But you don't know if I have business to conduct at the airport or not.
That's not the point.
Okay. Sergeant Wall, how you doing, sir?
I'm all right, Mr. Hoffman. How are you today?
I'm doing well, sir.
Okay, I think
Here
you've
it
already been
comes.
informed. I got a little paperwork to give you here. This is an application for doing what you would like to do. It's through the airport authority.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have certain procedures at the airport that they do. If you're wanting to protest or hold signs like you're doing, you have to get the permission of the airport authority because you are on private property. Okay? So I'd like to hand that to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it,
Okay.
Sarge. I'd like to verbalize I'm not protesting. That is not what I'm doing.
Okay, you can't stand on the airport's property with your signs like this, okay?
All right.
You are
Airport
trespassing.
public property, but okay.
This is private property.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Statute 810.09.
Which is what, sir?
Okay, trespass. I'll let you look that up because you seem to be very versed in everything.
Well, I don't know what that is, but I appreciate that.
Okay, so here's what we're doing is you can't come onto a conveyance or a court curtains or anything like that, okay? Enclosed or not. So what we're going to do, I don't know how you got here. I don't see your vehicle here today. Did you park it close by or I guess you're not going to answer that. If you have somebody that's coming to pick you up or whatever, but you might want to make contact with them, I'm going to give you a few minutes. I think she's already told you you're trespassing.
Yes, sir, she did.
Okay, so you are trespassing, and I'm going to give you a few minutes to make arrangements for somebody to come pick you up, okay? Okay, fair enough?
I appreciate that, Sergeant. I'd like to articulate, like I did to this officer here, I appreciate your professionalism so far. I ask that, again, if you are going to arrest me, that you just verbalize that. I will very calmly place my camera down, my signs down. I will place my hands behind my back. I will not resist in any manner whatsoever, and I ask that you just treat me with respect.
Okay, please understand, we're not here to arrest you. We're here to ask you to cease what you're doing and go ahead and move off of the property. That's what we're asking you to do. I'm going to give you the opportunity to do that, so go ahead and make your arrangements, okay?
All right, I have to acknowledge what you just said. I understand what you said. You're not here to arrest me, but you're here giving me an unlawful order. And in my opinion, I'm not an attorney, I am, and I've researched this, I am on public property. JEA is a corporation owned ultimately by the public. This is a public right-of-way, which you are on the record, sir, stating this is a public right-of-way. Last time we spoke, sir, you said I was a safety hazard. I researched that, and I talked to my attorney, and that's clearly untrue. And again, I'm not here to argue with you, Sarge. I'm not here to make your people's job difficult.
You're on private property. I've already told you that.
Yes, sir.
She's told you that. You are trespassing. I didn't tell you that the other day. Today I'm telling you trespassing. I've worked with you as best I can
Yes, sir.
now
Yes, sir.
on 2 occasions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so go ahead and make your arrangements to leave. I'm asking you to leave.
Okay.
But we will take other actions if needed.
All right.
Okay?
I'm asking you to give me 5 minutes. I'm asking me 5 minutes. I'm going to call my attorney. Is that okay?
If he can be here in 5 minutes,
All right.
that's fine.
So evidently at this point he had an attorney, but that didn't work out very well for him. And I don't know what the story is with his attorney, his quote unquote attorney. I can't remember. It's been so many years. But, long story short, he loses in every imaginable way.
All right, everybody. I'm calling my attorney right now.
Must have been a really bad attorney. You know, now that I think about it, I think he was just like using the collective attorney that was for like photography is not a crime. At this point, I think he was still in with photography is not a crime, those guys, but at some point I think they kind of turned their backs on him. They distanced themselves from him because of his annex and his he was like fuck the government, and it got to the point where he had to change the name on his channel from fuck the government to awakening the masses, which was also very telling in and of itself because it's like he envisions himself as Neo from the Matrix, like he's waking everybody up from the Matrix. I mean, that's this guy's ego. You really have to, he comes across as very, I respect you and this and that and the other as he's dealing with these law enforcement officers on this particular day. But on other days, he went out and like threatened judges' lives and cussed police officers out to the point where it ended up getting him 6 months in jail. Right? He's at this point he's like really trying. I think he's acting for the camera.
Yes, this is Mike Hoffman. George Faust is my attorney. I'm currently at Jacksonville National Airport. I think I'm about to be arrested. Is there any way I can speak to him? Tom, I'm standing on the airport. What they're saying is airport public property. I'm right next to the big sign. I'm on public property. It's public right-of-way. I'm not in the road. I'm on public property. I'm about 10 feet from the road. I'm holding two signs. One says...
See, the thing about it is they're not telling him that it's public property. They're telling him it's private property. Right? That's where the differential is. Is this public property or is this private property? And it turns out, based on Mike Hoffman's case law now, that anybody can cite that this is, in fact, semi-private property.
Elite state. The other one says F __, question mark K, the TSA. They're going to arrest me. They said they've trespassed me. They said they're giving me time to leave. I told them I'm going to stand fast. I have a constitutional right here. This is public property. It's not private. It's owned by a corporation, by the airport, but ultimately it's public property. I have a legal and a constitutional right to be here. I asked them if they were going to arrest me to please verbalize that. I would lay my camera down. I would put my arms behind my back, and I would not resist. But they're going to arrest me. So I'm calling you to, I guess, seek your advice and to ask you what to do.
Don't get arrested. That'd be my advice. Leave.
All right. In your legal opinion, do you agree with my research that I am on public road? I am standing the real big electronic sign on the entranceway to the airport. I'm not up on the airport. I'm way down at the entrance. You come over the little bridge, the huge sign right there. I'm about 6 to 8 feet off the roadway in the grass, right by the poles. Look. Up. They addressed me by name. They illegally ran my vehicle last time here through David. I've got that on video. I'm going to file a suit against that when I get time. But they're getting ready to arrest me. They're here. They're giving me time to call you. They're being polite. They're I've got all of it on video. They're going to trespass me. The reason they're going to arrest me is trespassing.
And you gotta love it when these guys call their attorneys. Like, I mean, have this conversation with your attorney before this happens, right? Say, listen, I'm going to go out here and do some activism. What should I do if they arrest me? Kind of thing. These are conversations that you should be having with your attorney before you go out, not like on the spur of the moment. Like, what's the attorney going to do for you? If he's a smart attorney, he's going to say, listen, if they tell you to leave, leave. You can still sue them for violating your civil rights later if that's what you want to do. You don't have to get arrested. He's got it on video.
They did warn me. They did warn me.
Then you should be.
But
Jingle bells.
they warned me when they came up. She says, you're warned, you're trespassing, you're warning. But her warning's invalid and unlawful.
Invalid.
Yeah, I'm on public property. She can't, Yeah. All right. Well, I'm on public property. So then, I need you to do me a favor. I'm going to be arrested. George has my wife's number and all that, or the bail bondsman. I don't have a bail bondsman. He lined one up for me. I'm going to need a bail bondsman. I'm going to need to be bailed out.
What a jingle bell.
I'm not in a position to write it down. The officer's standing right next to me. I got a camera in one hand. I got a phone in the other.
I mean, there are other alternatives rather than getting arrested, right? You know, this guy was just looking for a lawsuit, dude. It didn't work out for him. Just wait and see.
All right. All right. I guess I'll be in touch then. Thank you. Bye.
I guess I'll be in touch.
That's my turn. I'm going to call my wife now and let her know if that's okay.
My God.
If it's okay. Then I'm going to jail.
Who else is he going to call? His mother, his father?
Ma'am, I'm not going to leave.
You know,
I don't want to go to jail. I've never been arrested.
Why don't you just...
Because I'm here constitutionally, ma'am. Don't you... I'm here constitutionally. Don't you understand? Just, if you can, I don't know if you can for a moment, just step aside from your LEO position. Do you understand where I'm coming from? I'm a good citizen. I'm a good citizen. I'm not harming anything. It is, in my opinion, and also your duty to honor your oath. And your oath says you'll defend the Constitution. I have a constitutional right to be here. I'm not breaking any laws. You want to take my freedom away because I'm standing here.
You've been advised that you're trespassing on private property. I don't know how.
You don't have to have your freedom taken away.
I guess then are different. You know what? I can't debate that. You're right. You have. You've been polite about it.
Giving you the opportunity to leave.
I know, but and I guess where we differ is we differ on if this is private or public. I guess that's where we differ because we can't agree on that difference. We're not going to be able.
I'm employed by the Jacksonville Litigation Authority, and when I was hired here, according to their rules and regulations, this is their property, which is private, and that's who I'm employed by. So
All
I'm
right.
asking you to leave.
Let me make and I'm not trying to draw this out. You all, a lot of people here. I'm not trying to take up your time. It can't be private. It can't be owned by a private person. This is a Jacksonville International Airport. It is an authority. It is a public authority. It's owned by...
There's a process for you to go through to be able to stand here on the side of the road with these signs, and he gave you an application. You have to go through external affairs. You have not done that. You're being asked to leave. And if you do not leave, then you are trespassing.
Okay. And I don't want to debate it anymore. I just asked her before she came up. I called my wife. I'm just going to say I'm going to jail, and that's it. I already spoke to my attorney. I just want to let her know I'm going to jail, if that's okay.
You got about another minute.
Yes, I'll do it right here in front of you, Sarge. I'm just doing it right here in front of you. I'm just going to call her and tell her, she's going to be worried and upset.
Okay.
Well, Billy, you can call her when you get to the jail.
Hey, I'm going to jail, so...
I'll see you there.
All right, I'll call you later. Bye.
I mean, him and his wife must have already had that conversation. for it to be that short. Hey, honey, guess what? I'm going to jail.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman, you go ahead and turn your camera off.
All right.
Down. Just turn it off.
I did not turn it off.
Okay, I don't know how to turn it off, and I'm just going to let the battery run out. So if you want to save what you got there, battery, it's immaterial to me. You can turn it off.
All right, I'm going to turn the camera off at this time to preserve the evidence.
It's immaterial to me. You can turn it off.
All right, I'm going to turn the camera off at this time to preserve the evidence.
Okay, that's fine. And what about the...
All right, I don't think there's anything more to see here. You know how it turns out. He goes to jail, right? And then fast forward a couple of months, and he's basically found guilty and sentenced to psychiatric evaluations and cusses out law enforcement officers and threatens judges and ends up 6 months in prison. Fights this thing all the way through the South Carolina Supreme Court. 6 years later, something along those lines. Let's just say years later, um, finally, you get this post from him. So this is August. Let's see. The arrest was in November, or the video was posted in November of 2015, but I think it actually occurred in August of 2014. Yeah, here it is. This is the video of my arrest on August 12th, 2014 for trespassing on public property. All right. And then here you are in August of 2019. So 5 years later, here's what Michael Hoffman has to say after.
All right, what's going on, guys? Mike here from Awakening the Masses. Yeah, it's been a while. To be honest, I don't even know really where to start. I guess the best place to start is, I don't think it's going to be any news that my case didn't fare well with the United States Supreme Court. Really, it's really not a fair analysis. They didn't deny the case. They decided not to take it up for review. I've got a lot of opinions and a lot of things. It's been several months. That decision came out in April, late April. As you could imagine, if you've been following my case, it kind of hit me kind of hard. In fact, I just, the day I found out, I packed my shit up and I went to a hotel for a few days. I left town. I just thought it'd be best that I not be around anybody. If I could, I wouldn't have been around myself. But you know what? I got through it. Here I am. Today's date is August the 21st, 2019. And there's been a lot of changes in my life. So this is kind of, I guess, like an update video, a transition video, whatever you want to call it. It's probably going to be a little lengthy. There's a lot of groundwork to cover. If you're going to watch it, I appreciate it. I've thought about this video for a long time. I've tried making it several times, and it just never worked out. So here we are again. I'm not even going to get into my case. If you've been following my case, you understand how I got screwed every step of the way. Every single step of the way, from my arrest all the way to United States Supreme Court, I got fucked every which way you can think of. My rights were violated consistently. I could go on, I could go on and on and on, and I'm not. I'm over it. I can look at myself in the mirror and say to myself, I did everything I could. I took it as far as I could take it at a great cost.
And I lost. Got my ass handed to me. And that's the bottom line is you may think you're right. You may think you're impeccable. Everything is unreproachable in your situation. But the system gets to decide that. You don't. And in this case, Mr. Hoffman, his ego controlled his viewpoint. And he lost painfully.
Financially, emotionally, you just have no clue.
Right, I have a clue.
In a situation like this, and there hasn't been many because this is a little unique. I'm not saying I'm the only one that's gotten fucked by the government, because by no means am I. I am not the first, I'm not the last. But, I kind of digress. Look, guys, here it is.
I'm done. I paid my pound, 7 pounds of flesh. I went to jail for 6 months plus 4 months house arrest for holding a sign, standing on public property, and for cussing out a bailiff. It wasn't what I did, it's who I was and what I stood for. It was clear that I exposed corruption. I held those, or I tried to hold those accountable. I guess a more accurate statement is I exposed those, or brought light to the corruption of those involved in my case. I didn't hold anyone accountable. They all got away with it. Every one of them. From the psychologist at fraudulent report, falsifying the report, from the judge's corruption.
The psychologist was in on the big conspiracy theory.
Judge at Duval County Courthouse, from all that stuff. No one was held accountable. The only one that paid a price was me. Over $150,000 in legal bills. Well over $250,000 in just lost wages and just all sorts of stuff. I lost 3 or 4 jobs. The emotional toll and stress on me and my family. I was arrested August the 12th, 2014. I was rearrested, and that was for holding a sign on public property. Arrested almost a year later to the day on August the 10th, 2015 for cussing out a bailiff on public property. For those 2 crimes, the only 2 crimes of my 50-year life, 22-year fraud investigator, ex-law enforcement, never been arrested before in my life, never been in trouble with the law before in my life, and that's...
Notice he invokes the fraud investigator thing again.
That's what my punishment was, for holding a sign on public property and for uttering vibrations coming out of my mouth to form words. Okay?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And trespassing on private property. He conveniently forgets that part of it.
If you think we live in a free society, don't kid yourself. Well, as long as you're willing to get down and lick the boots and do as the master tells you to do, and you don't rub the grain the wrong way, you're good to go. But the second you stand up for your rights, or at least attempt to stand up for your rights, whether you're completely legally sound in your foundation or not. See, that's the mistake I made. As a 20-year investigator, I did my homework. Before I got arrested, I verified that was public property. I knew it was public property. I was saying it was public property the entire fucking time. They admitted during the trial. You think it would get dismissed, but no. We can't let the guy go that calls us corrupt. We can't let the guy go that's going after Angela Corey, the most corrupt district attorney in probably the state of Florida's history. So now that we've completely gotten off track, which I didn't want to
do. I mean, and you can see why I had so much fun with this guy. It was just so easy. It's like he has so many squirrel moments. Like, there's a squirrel. Oh. Here's my question is, if it's public property, how did he lose? Right? If they conceded that it was public property, how did he lose? His attorneys must have been shit, right? I mean, come on, seriously. Easy question.
It's kind of hard, guys. It's kind of hard to sit back and think that I went to jail for 6 months, 4 months house arrest, over $150,000 in legal bills, all for 2 misdemeanor arrests. Trespassing was my first charge. Trespassing. And my second charge was resisting without violence, and there's a subsection in the chapter that says interference with a lawful duties. And again, I won't get into my case and the utter bullshit of it. But
The other bullshit
yeah,
of it, which
free
is
to
why
be
he
free.
lost. All that bullshit.
So enough of that. I'm done. There's the update.
So there you have it. I mean, yeah, what can be said other than don't let your ego cloud your judgment. I mean, what did he ultimately hope to achieve by this? To give him the right to carry signs and protest on airport property. Okay, right? So what? What is being lost by not being allowed to walk down a long airport entry and carry a sign critical of the government? Well, why would he consider that a traditional public venue? And what difference does it make? You know, I mean, I'm sure you can just say, well, based on principle, he should be able to do it. Okay, well, you know, they said no. So what's been lost? Nothing. Nothing's been lost. I mean, other than his shitty, him and his lawyers' shitty, you know, shitty attempt to justify it. Right. So now he's case law. So he's done more damage than good. It's just stupid.
And here's the twist. I'm out of the fight.
He's out of the fight. He's
I
done.
am no longer willing to sacrifice my family, myself, and the people that love me because I, at my core, feel the need to stand up for what I think is right and just. I have to stop thinking about me and this country and start thinking about my wife and family and myself. I paid a huge emotional price in this. My wife and I have never been apart more than, 3, 4, 5 months in the 25 years we've been together. We just celebrated 25-year anniversary. Been together 27 years, 28 years. The government tried to destroy me.
You tried to destroy yourself.
And they almost did it, man. They almost did it.
He still takes no responsibility for any of his actions.
I was this close. In a lot of different ways. I was that close. In a lot of different ways.
Boy, the drama.
So,
what a drama queen.
August the 21st, 2019. What's going on, Mike? As you can see, I'm in my truck.
There really isn't much more to this other than he talks about his new business and he quit his job as a fraud investigator. I guess that didn't really pan out and do anything significant for him. It obviously didn't prove to anybody that he knows more about the law than they do. But yeah, like the Boy Scouts say, be prepared. You go into auditing, protesting, activism, whatever. Realize that, Mike's not alone in this. There's a lot of guys that are involved in this that are just not smart enough to be able to see the end game. And so there you go. What a difference 6 or 7 years can make from you're standing on the side of the road with a sign, determined that you're in the right. You're going to sue, when they falsely arrest you, and just live off your payday for the rest of however long that's going to be. And here's the deal. I mean, even if he had won this, the odds of him getting a payday, a substantial amount of money out of this, would have been a long shot, right? Because there's also got to be some damages, right? The law, isn't just going to award him millions of dollars because all his rights were violated, right? They have to, uh, the police have to be spiteful in doing it, right? They got to crack his skull open, or you know, throw him under the jail cell. Something stupid. That none of that happened. It was just stupid, and he got angry, and his temper got the best of him. His ego got the best of him, and he got lippy, to the bailiff, and and as a result, he just basically was his own worst enemy. And he still, if you listen to him now, he still believes that he's in the right, that his ego will not let him see anything other than he had no responsibility in it, that he should have been allowed to carry that sign and cuss out whoever he wanted. And hey, um, anything short of him being able to do whatever he wanted to do is tyranny in his mind. Don't let your egos get the best of you. All right, that's it. Y'all have a good one.